Hello and welcome to chapter 3. At the end of chapter 2, we'd just been travelling up to Spain along the coast, as you may recall, and we come back to England and we then brought a puppy called Joseph. We had the intention of still moving to Spain, but we thought we'd take it slowly and do it when Grace had finished primary school in a couple of years' time. But in December, the laws started stirring really strongly this time, and we got back in touch with the guy from St Mary's who was also interested to move to Spain. He asked us how our trip had gone, and we told him, and he said he would love to come with us, and even we said about maybe the possibility of buying a place together, so that would double the money that we were going to buy with, and also provide a bigger place, retreat place for God's work. So that was interesting. So we started looking at properties again on Rightmove and different places in Spain, and I was looking all over at different properties, things you'd get with that kind of money. And also we sent emails to the two churches that Sylvia told us needed new pastors, so one in El Campello and one in San Juan. So we just emailed them to say hi and introduce ourselves, and ask what was happening in their church, and maybe we're just exploring if the Lord, where the Lord could use us. So we got a first email back from El Campello Church saying that their pastor was actually leaving next week. And so they really were looking for a new pastor, and they were praying about it, and they had a leadership team of about 6 people, and they were looking really excited about the next season, and they sent us a video about their church, and it looked amazing. So we were quite excited about that. And then the other church in San Juan also emailed us back. Now this church is linked. It planted the one in Penoso that we visited, that we got stuck because of the floods. So we went to this church, and actually they are linked, their sister church in Alicante. So we were introduced to them because of that. And the pastor emailed us back to say, yes, he really wanted help because he also was a pastor of a large Spanish church in Alicante, and things were just taken off. So he really needed to hand the English church over to someone, and he was looking for a new pastor to do that. So both churches really wanted to meet us. Both seemed quite exciting and a lot going on there, and they obviously needed help. So we got chatting with this guy as well for St Mary's, and we decided actually we need to go back to Spain. We need to go specifically to this area. We will look at some houses with him, and we arranged to meet both the churches. So Paul's mum kindly offered to have the children for a week in England so they wouldn't miss school, and we booked to go in January for a week with our friend as well, who was coming out with us. So this was quite exciting as well, because it all came together very quickly. And then at Christmas, just after Christmas, the Lord said you need to sell your house and move to Spain now. So then it was like, whoa, okay. So we really are going, and probably going soon. So we went to Spain for a week, and we had a very exciting week of rushing around, visiting churches, looking at houses. And we arrived on the Friday, and we went straight to stay with our friends just for the weekend in towards Penoso, and it was so cold. It was freezing. It was like -5 at night. So we had to wear dressing gowns to bed, pyjamas, dressing gowns, socks, have a hot water bottle, and we even wore a hat, woolly hat. It was so funny. We didn't think it would get that cold in Spain ever. So that was interesting, and we had quite fun there trying to keep warm. And so then we decided, well, actually on the Saturday morning, the boys had a men's breakfast with the church in Penoso, and they went there, and they came home. Paul said that actually when they were at this breakfast, this guy came over to him from the church and looked at him and said, "Oh, you're the next pastor of the Church of Good Shepherd in San Juan." And Paul said, "Am I?" And he said yes. And so yeah, he was prophesied over, and they didn't know anything about us or who we were or anything. So that was really interesting. We knew that God had obviously gone before there, and so we then went to the services on Sunday morning. So El Campello met at in the morning on a Sunday, and Church of Good Shepherd met in the evening. So we were like, oh, we can actually go to both services. That's amazing. So we first of all went to Campeo Church, and we all went down and we had a little stroll on the beach and just all fell in love with it. It was really nice people, really relaxed. You know, the worship was good. Everyone was very friendly. We liked the style of it. So that was brilliant. And the guy that we came with, he loved it. He fell in love with it and said, oh, I can really see myself coming here. It's really nice to find a church, you know, straight away. And then in the evening, we went to the other one and we sat at the back. And he just was sharing about there being a healing weekend on the next weekend. And I just suddenly felt from God this word for the church or for them. And so I was waiting for a space to bring it, but then he sort of walked back and went straight into the preach. So, or went to go into the beach. So I stood up and I was like, excuse me. I was like, oh, I'm Christine. I've been emailing you. And his face was just blank. And I was like, oh, this is so embarrassing. And I was like, anyway, I just felt from the Lord and I shared this word with them. And he sort of stood there in silence for a couple of minutes afterwards. And everyone was looking at us. It was just so funny. And I was like, okay. And then just suddenly he was like, I want to accept that word for me. And does anyone else? And they all started praying into it and, you know, thanking God. And it was just really amazing how well they took it and, you know, to see that they were so open. And so after the service, went over to him and said, hi, you know, we're Paul and Chris. And he was like, he didn't have a clue who we were. And he said, I've just never had anyone interrupt me in the service. So that was really lovely. And, you know, we really loved that service too. A lot freer in the spirit, which was great. I preferred it to the morning service. Liked everyone, but there was something about the evening that was extra special. And I could really see myself working with those guys. So, yeah. Now, the first house we booked to view first thing on the Monday morning was this house with EdenVillasSpain.com. We found it funny that it was under Eden because of the Bible name. You had to drive up the road to 777 to get to it. Again, 7 is a complete number in the Bible. There were lots of just signs and funny things we laughed about. So the other thing was when we were in England and I was looking at all these houses and I showed Grace the selection we were going to view, she said, I will only move to Spain if we move in that house. So this was the house that she pointed out. One of the bedrooms had a G on a shelf in the room and she didn't like any of the others. So it was like pressure to get this property because that's the only reason Grace would move to Spain. It was beautiful. It had a swimming pool, fruit trees, everything, and we were really excited to see it because the price seemed unusually low. And when I phoned the agent and said, where is this house, because you know, out of the whole of Spain I was just trying to find somewhere with a lot of rooms, and this one had 11 bedrooms. It was basically 4 apartments or 4 houses in one. And he said the nearest town to it is actually El Campeo. And I thought, now that's really interesting, that obviously the church that we need to be at is down the road, and it's also it's in a place called Busot, which is in the middle of San Juan and El Campeo. So it was quite odd that it works out to look like this triangle. So we were really excited about this house. As we walked around in the main house, there was this picture on the wall, basically of the story of the Good Samaritan, and it just was summarised everything that we wanted to use a retreat for. And the picture was just, the painting was beautiful, it was so symbolic, and we knew that this was just the place that God wanted us to be. We would have bought it that moment, but we needed to discuss stuff first. But we were really overwhelmed. This house had everything and more that we had put on a list and we'd prayed about and we just felt in our hearts. So it was the first house that we viewed, and it was just absolutely perfect in every way. And just this painting summarised the whole vision, really. And so, yeah, we were quite tearful and quite emotional about how good God is. And yes, and we knew that Grace would love it. Grace and Zet would both love it. We couldn't wait to move. After we viewed that house, we all came out and were like, wow, we love it. We went and visited the other houses that we viewed. Even one was like a, gosh, it was humongous. It was like a castle, so many bedrooms. It even had its own private church in the grounds and Olympic-sized swimming pool, and the land was amazing. But it had this dark feel. It was really weird, like horrible things had gone on there. Um, so we always had the first house in the back of our minds, but we did the sensible thing and looked around and saw what you could get for your money and looked at different areas, and it all came back to obviously that place that God had set aside for us and called us to. And the friend we were travelling with, we were there a week, and we had these interviews with the churches as well, and they went really well. We all sat with them and just honest about the fact that we didn't really know exactly what God wanted us to do, but we felt called to be there and to serve, and we got on with everyone. So it just, I mean, the week just went so well, no blips. We also went to the school, and we went up to the school, just popped up there and said, hey, we're looking at maybe moving to the area. How do we get our kids in school? And they said, oh, they can start tomorrow. Just bring them here. And we were like, what? And they were lovely at the school, and just we loved the town in Busot and everything. Just it was the smoothest week. Which is so weird. We had so many signs from God, so many confirmations. I mean, the guy with doesn't, say, oh, I don't hear from God. I don't see things the same way as you. Your faith's a bit different. But even he was dreaming and having verses and pictures in the night, and we were all just, the Lord was just so tangible, and everything just confirmed. Every person we met, every, place we went, we just knew we were meant to be there. And so we came on the, Paul and I just went for this walk along the beach, and we just said, look, we've got to get this house. Even if he doesn't want to join in with us, we'll get it in faith. We just believe it's right. And so we came home one evening and just said to him, look, we've been praying and we really feel we need to get it. And so we said, we obviously want you to give you the opportunity to get it with us, but otherwise we're going to we just feel to go ahead, and we'll find a way. God will make a way. And he kept quiet, and I was like, oh. And then he was like, yeah, I was going to say the same to you. And so we're all dancing around going, woo. So we only had like 2 days left, and we needed to, so we quickly phoned the estate agent. We were like, right, we want to buy the house. So we had to go up the next day and put down the deposit. We just paid a grand deposit. And we had to find a lawyer, and everything in Spain is mañana. But this is why we knew it was so God, because everything just came together so easily. And I got in touch with the lawyer that evening, who said, I'll come to your apartment the next day. And he did, and he came, and he just had all this paperwork ready and done for us. It was amazing. We couldn't believe it. No one could. The churches couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe we found a house and found a lawyer, and it was all just amazing how it all just fitted in so easily. And so, we came back to England and told everyone we just bought a house, put a deposit on a house in Spain, and just we're going to sell and move there. And that was quite shocking for some people. Paul didn't like the idea of an auction, but after we thought and prayed about it some more, we got the guy round to talk to us about it, and it actually wasn't as sort of bad as as he was thinking. Basically, it could stay on with an agent as well, and if they sold it, then great, before the auction. And also, I was thinking about my sister live in Australia, and in Australia, they auction properties all the time. It's how they sell houses, just so people don't get messed about. I was starting to get stressed, which isn't good for anxiety and isn't good for your health anyway. And we were moving to Spain, and just trying to go through that process after we'd just done it year before, and all the stress we'd had with that, all the buyers that pulled out. And it was just like the auction would provide a way of just not going through that, not having to do it. So it was quite a good idea from the law, really, quite sensible, because the cost for your health is just priceless, really, and your sanity. So yes, so there was a cost to it, money wise, financially. We were, if it had been complete, the house was worth about 350, and we had put a lot of money on it. We halfway through a lot of conversions, so it wasn't complete, but we paid for all that, and we would have got about 320 or over 300. And so the reserve price at the auction was 275, which meant that anything we got over that we would have to take. So we decided on that price because that's what we paid for it, even though we'd added about 40 grand or so of our own money to do it up. But we just really felt we should do this. In Spain, they wanted us to complete on the house by the end of March, so we didn't have much time. And Nick, the guy with us, buying with us, already had his money in the account, so really everyone was just waiting on us. And we needed 150,000 for what we were going to buy in Spain. So we were going to get money left over. We just decided, we don't need to be greedy or anything. We're not going to stick around and try and ask for loads of money. That'd be waiting. Actually, God has provided what we need. We're going to have more than enough to buy the house in Spain. So, all money belongs to God. So we just weren't bothered about losing, not getting what it was worth. So we put it up for auction, and the auction was due in March. So the plan was, when it sold, for Paul to come back. I signed the paperwork anyway, so I wouldn't need to be there to sign. Him to come back and sort it out while I would just stay in Spain with the kids, get them in school and everything, and hopefully it will go from there. after my fall, we realised this wasn't going to be an easy mission. We were so tempted to go back to England, but we felt just to get to Spain, we needed to get to Spain. Satan is relentless.